the big thing to me is we have a big land package with so much mineralization. In my experience, this is the best thing I've seen in 20 years. I believe this is one of the best undeveloped projects in Mexico. Time will tell. It may be the best thing in my career.
You've got a real firm idea of what you should be focusing on. What's the priorities here? Because people and companies get a bit lost when they've got so much in front of them. Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. It really helps us to understand which companies we should be spending our time, money and effort on. And do leave your comments below as well, because that also helps us to understand sorts of questions you think we should be asking, how you think we've done, and of course, what you think of the company. You can also catch this as a podcast, an article, or a transcription on cruxinvestor.com. And of course, for our Crux Club members, you get early access to this video. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We catch up with Brad Langille, CEO of GoGold Resources. This is a Mexican silver story. Their Los Ricos South project has got the market quite excited. Market cap's around 216 million today as it stands. Grade's good, process good, management with a track record, but that's not the bit that excites us. We look and talk today at Los Ricos North. Could it match what they've got at Los Ricos South, or could it indeed exceed things? And we, in the back of our mind, have got a little bit of peer analysis going on, and we think that they're perhaps reasonably undervalued. So take a look at the description below. Some of the topics we discuss with Brad, a lot covered. It gets into some detail and also some diagrams with us to help us visualize what it is that they think that they've got. Anything that interests you in particular, click on the number beside that topic. It's called a timestamp. I'll jump you to that part of the video. So enjoy what Brad has to say. Brad, how are you doing, sir?
Good, very good.
Well, look, we took the opportunity to call you up. We saw yet again another spectacular set of drill results, but then we got to talking. So we're going to try and do something different with you today. But let's do that in a minute. Can you just, actually, I've got to ask about that stuff on the wall. What is that? What's going on back there? That looks like a scary beast.
Well, I'm a little bit of a collector of mineral specimens and fossils, and that's a Monosaurus, an aquatic dinosaur about 60 million years old. So I'm just in my new den at my house that I've been renovating for a couple of years, and finally getting the artwork and the mineral specimens out. So a little bit better background than the past videos.
Is that real? Is that a real thing or a plaster cast?
No, that's real, very much real.
So, oh boy, right.
Yeah, it's a kind of an amateur hobby, I guess.
Quite a nice one. Very attractive. Yeah. But right, so but before we kind of get into this, a slightly new way I think I want to show your project off. Can you give us a 1-minute overview for people who perhaps have not heard this story before?
Okay, well, GoGold is the fourth company that I've been involved in, and President CEO in Mexico. We have a team that very, very strong technical team. We've been doing this now for 27 years. Members of the team that I've had, kind of my key members of the team have been anywhere from 10 to 20 years working with myself. And really, the whole focus of my career has been Mexico. We've built 3 mines. We've major refurbished a 4th in Mexico. And GoGold is the latest company. We've been around for about 10 years. We have a mine that's in production. It's been in production now for 6 years. And we have a very, very exciting, what I think is the best project I've had in 20 years at Los Ricos. So we're deep into a drilling exploration program at Los Ricos, and that's a real driver of what we're doing now. And it follows after what we've done in the past with companies such as Gammon Gold, which I founded, Mex Gold, which I founded and ran along with my team, and Nayarit Gold, and the latest is GoGold. So we're back doing what we know well, which is through our connections in Mexico, private families. We off the radar assets. We've brought capital to them. We've raised about $800 million of equity over the last about 15 years for our projects. And we've done a couple $100 million of debt deals. So I think we have all the elements for success, and we're on what I think is going to be a big success, Los Ricos.
Okay, Brent, thanks for that. So, right, the original reason I called you was the press release. The numbers are really solid, really solid. I mean, why don't you tell us a little bit about those? What were you aiming for?
Yeah, so we're coming close to a data cutoff for our Los Ricos South project, and we'll get into that a little bit more. We essentially have a large district scale project that spans 35 kilometers. And for right now, we've divided up in two central projects, one Los Ricos South and Los Ricos North. So as we're coming close to that data cutoff point, we drilled some holes at the northern end of our Los Ricos South in an area that we hadn't drilled too much before called Rascodera. And we had one of those great surprises in exploration where we intercepted some very high grade in the drill results and wide widths as well, not just meter 2 meter wide veins at multi kilos, but 18 meters of just about approximately 900 grams silver equivalent in a hole. And these are fairly close to surface as well. So they should fall within, potentially fall within an open pit. So very, very high grades for.
So talk to me again. This for all levels of investor here. So just explain what you mean by data cutoff point.
We've been drilling now for 16 months, and we had as many as 6 drill rigs going. We currently have 4 rigs going at Los Ricos South, and we've started drilling in Los Ricos North, and we'll get into that, I'm sure, in a few minutes. But eventually, you have to put a pin in it, and you have to say, hey, I got to take this bunch of data, all these, say, 200 drill holes, and I have to give them to the third-party independent consultant and say, now, tell me the number. Give me the summation of ounces that have been defined in those 200 holes. So we think after 16 months, it's a good time to get that number out there. And it'll be our first resource, our maiden resource. And the investors, the institutions will be able to start to look at that and put some economics or potential economics around that. Now, that doesn't mean we're going to stop. At Los Ricos South, the last holes we just hit, we've had intercepts here over 4 kilos per ton of silver equivalent. So obviously we're going to follow up on those. But we got to pick a point where we cut the data off and ship it off to the third party, and he has it for a couple of weeks, and then he gives us that number. Now, the next step here, after the resource in Los Ricos South, will be a PEA, or a preliminary economic assessment. That's where we really look more at engineering and the first look at the economics of what we have there. Okay. So we'll take that resource, but we'll also say, before we put that PEA out, we can do an update to the resource, whether it's late 2020. So what I'm trying to say is the resource, I believe, will be very significant and a large resource and a good grade, and it'll get bigger as we continue to drill.
You believe this is going to be a mine, and you're the guys to do that. Is that right?
We are the guys to do that. I have the team that's done that in the past for the companies. That team, we built 3 mines, and large mines. The Ocampo mine, which was my very first. That company literally started in the garage 27 years ago. And that ended up being a producer of about 250,000 ounces of gold equivalent per year. And it was really 2 large mines. So we have the expertise to do that. We really excel at exploration development as well, and finding the ounces. And there's a lot of wealth created in the discovery of the ounces, outlining them and developing them, and either building the mine, or as we did on the last project, we sold it to Agnico Eagle. We had invested about $20 million, and we sold it, and we received $95 billion US for the project after a relatively short time, about 3 years. working on the project.
Right. Okay. So, and this is where I think people probably say, "Well, actually, Matthew's not sticking to his usual format here." Well, that's because I heard the story a few weeks ago from you, and I liked the track record of the team. You make shareholders money. You know the region. You've had the same team for a long time. So all the kind of tick box exercise done for me, and that Los Ricos South is going to be a good solid mine. The thing that I couldn't get away from when we spoke last time, and I wanted to know a little bit more, and this is where we're going to go slightly off menu somewhat here today, is I wanted you to explain to me what's happening at Los Ricos North, because it seems the potential there is significant. And I didn't ask the sorts of questions of you last time that I want to ask you today. Now you've we talked just before the show started. You showed me a couple of pages from the PowerPoint, and I just wondered, can you go through that exercise again with me now, just to be able to show people at home, because it helped me understand or visualize the potential. So if that's something you don't mind doing, perhaps we could share a screen now and go to that.
We've worked all through Mexico, and these are all the projects we've been involved in over the last 25 plus years. But the latest is Los Ricos. It's down here in Jalisco, close to Guadalajara, the second largest city in Mexico. Really good infrastructure, about an hour and 45 minutes out of that city. There's power, there's water, everything there. So the Los Ricos project, it does have a lot of history behind it. This district has been owned for a while, and really we're the consolidators of this district, and we continue to do that. The most recent consolidation was completed in the project called Los Ricos North, and we still had 5 claims there that we wanted to consolidate before we started our intense drill program in Los Ricos North. Now, Los Ricos South, we had that pretty much consolidated when we started, and we had a whole bunch of data, historical data, that we had about 8,000 data points from an old underground mine there. So we started the program there, and essentially some exploration. In some of the areas, it was pretty much grid drilling. But if you look at the history of Los Ricos, the whole district, and the scale is 35 kilometers in length. And again, we were focused our last 200 drill holes down here at Los Ricos South over about an area of about 3.2 kilometers. And I feel that we don't know the resource until we have the resource, but we're going to hand all that data over to the third party. It's in the probably 850 to 1 million ounce range of gold equivalent, or 70 plus million ounces silver equivalent, and it should be a very good grade. We hope that we'll see a grade of over a couple hundred ounces silver equivalent, or 2.5 to 3 grams of gold in what we think could be a bulk mineable open pit scenario. So that's very good, and there was a good reason to start in Los Ricos South. But if you look at the history, Los Ricos North historically had a lot more mines than Los Ricos South. On our claims up there, there's approximately 50 old mines that we know about today. In Los Ricos South, there's around 10 historically. And but as I mentioned, Los Ricos North, starting back in March of 2019, we still had some ground to consolidate. And we thought that consolidation would be easier if we didn't focus all our attention on Los Ricos North right from the get-go. So what's going to happen in the future? We've started now drilling in Los Ricos North. We're going to intensify that drill program. We feel as a team, and this is from experience, we feel there is as much potential in Los Ricos North, or even a lot more potential in Los Ricos North, drawing on the history of the district. But not to diminish from Los Ricos South, we're coming out with a very, very solid, high-grade, premium type resource, we feel. And we have a lot more work to do in Los Ricos South as well. We're not going to stop there. We're going to continue on drilling And we'll move up to other areas that we have, one called Jamaica, where we're going in and doing the initial groundwork to develop that into drill targets. And we'll continue along those 3.2 kilometers, like at the Rascodera. We're at the, not the end of the drill program, but the data cutoff for that resource. We hit things like 18 meters of almost 900 grams silver in a drill hole. But now we're going to pivot and we're going to double the kind of the news flow out of the district, because now we've initiated our program in the Los Ricos North.
Can I just ask on this? Obviously, this is the scale's at 35 kilometers. I mean, have you got the team? Have you got enough money? I mean, do you know? Have you got a real firm idea of what you should be focusing on? What's the priorities here? Because sometimes people and companies get a bit lost when they've got so much in front of them that they forget to kind of focus on the market story, which is showing the market the value of what they've got.
That's a very good point, and I know exactly what you mean. You can lose focus when you have literally 50, 60 targets. We want to approach this on a technical basis, very strategically. On a market basis, we want to develop it in a way that everybody can see our logic in the development, and that we're not just going in a million directions. So, and that was the idea of starting our program in Los Ricos South, where we had all that data. I'll just bring up another slide. Just take a moment here, but again, it will show Los Ricos South and Los Ricos North, and this is where we started. And we've been there for 16 months. We've spent now in about just on exploration, not acquisition. We've spent about $6 million US on drilling. And you asked how much money do we have for drilling? Well, really, we completed a financing in March, and very, very well received. It was oversubscribed. We raised 25 million Canadian, but we issue all our results in US dollars. So I'll talk in US dollars here. Currently, the last financials, we had about 19 million US in the bank. And the good news is we're not burning that very fast, because we have an operating mine, which last quarter, after G&A, it generated almost $2 million US. So really, we're almost self-funding. So with the production from our operating mine, $19 million US in the bank, we're well-positioned, well-financed to really accelerate the program here. And that's what we're going to do. We've done a lot of drilling here in the south, but we're not going to stop. We're going to continue there, but we're going to accelerate up here in Los Ricos North. And we hope to have some information out there very soon about Los Ricos North and some of those results. So well-financed. Do we have the team? We absolutely do. We have guys on the team and girls on the team who have been working with us for a long time. They're very technically savvy. They know the geology. We have some great engineers with us as well. In-house, we have the know-how to get this done, and we are getting it done.
And again, I just want to be clear here, because I want to understand I like so many bits of this story, but I want to make sure that the whole story resonates too, which is you're not going to get distracted by Los Ricos North. You are absolutely focused on delivering Los Ricos South and working it through the PEA and the various studies to get that into production. That nothing's changing there. Is that clear? That's right.
No, nothing's changing there at all.
Perfect. Okay.
It's, continue to drill Los Ricos South, move towards PEA, get that done. As on a parallel track, we're drilling in Los Ricos North. Right.
So there's nothing that you're seeing on Los Ricos South which makes you think, crikey, we better go and look somewhere else because these numbers aren't what we hoped they would be. That's nothing to do with it.
Absolutely not. What we're seeing as far as drill holes, I mean, I don't think I've ever completed 200 drill holes in my career where we had this consistency and the quality and the grade of drill holes. When our latest hole, part of it's at 3.2 meters of 4.3 kilos of silver, we're definitely seeing what we want to see in Los Ricos South, and we're thinking we're going to see a lot more of that.
So the question there is, Brad. So why not stay there? Why not keep stepping out and focus on that?
Yeah.
Why go north?
No, it's a good point. The reason we're going to go north is because I agree with you 100%. You've seen too many companies go in a million directions, and it's focus, focus, focus. But listen, we're on to something very large here. It's really the best thing I've seen in 20 years. It may be the best thing in my career. I'm looking at Ocampo. When I left there after 12 years, we had close to 3,000 drill holes, and we had 2 large mines built. Here we're in the range of about 300 drill holes now with the legacy drill holes. So for me to say this is the best thing in my career, although I feel that from a potential standpoint right now, and the data that we're getting all the time, each drill hole keeps on giving me confidence that this is the best thing I've seen in my career. And it's large. The scale here is big. The scale in not just 35 kilometers. Who cares about 35 kilometers if it's all moose pasture? But when it's 35 kilometers that have historically had 50, 75 mines on it, and where you're getting results like these, and results in the north. I just want to flip to one other slide here because so you get a kind of a feel of what we're dealing with here in the north as well, and why we wouldn't put it on the back burner. We can have 2 front burners here, and we can really be, I think, cooking with gas because we've got great things in the south, and we're starting to see great things in the north. So this is an area, I'll just kind of show the overview first. This is just a small part of Los Ricos North. And we're looking here at about a 6-kilometer corridor where existed 2 old mines, the Solomon mine and actually 3, Montefavor, Molola. So those mines were of similar size to the one that we just drilled in Los Ricos South. And maybe I didn't touch on that. What we're doing here in these scenarios in the north and Los Ricos South is there was a mine there in the past, and they mined out about 1 million ounces equivalent in Los Ricos South in that one mine. A very prominent U.S. Famous mining family, the Daly family, Anaconda was the name of the company that the Daly family had. But what they did was they mined 2 to 6 meters wide in a structure that was on average 20, 25 meters wide, up to 50 meters wide sometimes. So all we're doing is we're going in and drilling that halo around what they mined in a lot of it. And we're coming up with 20 meters, 25 meters at 2.5, 3 grams plus. So just beautiful stuff for an open pit. It's the same thing in these 2 areas that I've drilled in the north, where you have structures 10 to 50 meters wide. And in some of it, they've mined 2 to 6 meters and left behind that high grade for an open pit for us. And then we have another one called Trini, which was only discovered in the late 70s, around 1978. And that area, not mined before, but there is some drilling up there. We had 50 drill holes. But take a look at these results. We're drilling there right now. We just started a few weeks ago. So these are all legacy drill holes. They're all reverse circulation. And for the non-technical people, that's a different kind of drilling where you drill with a bit that's more like a water well bit, and it brings up chips. So you don't really see the geology so much. You just get a sample that you can send to the lab for an assay. Now, we drill mostly or exclusively here with core. So we get a piece of the rock intact, and we can see the geology. So it tells us a lot more. And we're drilling now here with core, where they had drilled with RC in the past. But if we just take a look at some of the highlights of those 50 holes, up to, and these are near surface, And what we understand about it today is they're approaching true width, 24 meters of 27 grams of gold equivalent in a drill hole, 14 meters of almost 6 grams, 18 meters of 5 grams, 16 meters of 4 grams. So that's spectacular. So we're drilling there right now. Our team went in and looked at this, and our team has their own kind of geological interpretation from all the mines and the properties we've been involved in over the last 25 plus years. And we've done a lot of mapping here and a lot of sampling, and we have a good understanding, and we feel we're going to grow this ounces here in quick order. So Matt, back to your original question, why go to Los Ricos North? We're going to Los Ricos North because it has the potential of Los Ricos South. In fact, we believe it's much even bigger than Los Ricos South. And if all we had was Los Ricos South, listen, we'd be very happy, because we think we could have multi-million ounces in Los Ricos South. And we think we could have better up here in Los Ricos North. And that's potential I'm talking about today.
So what are we looking at here? What do those red marks indicate?
Those are the veins. Those are the veins. And, you know, when I say veins, we usually think of veins like, you know, the El Cubo mine, which I ran in the past. That was a mine that operated for 60 years. We bought that. We invested money. We doubled the production. 1.5 meters. You know, it had a grade of silver equivalent underground, in an underground, at 1.5 meters of a couple hundred grams, 250 grams. These are veins, but they're 10 to 50 meters wide that can be bulk mined. And, you know, what we've seen in the south are grades in silver equivalent between 200 and 250 grams on average over 20 meters. So, you know, it all comes down to, at the end of the day, economics. And, you know, you can compare, it's hard to compare underground with open pit, because, you know, it's like comparing apples and oranges. Underground, you know, a lot higher cost. You're looking for, because you're dealing with a narrow vein, you have to do a lot of development and surgically mine that vein out of there. Whereas open pit, you go in and it's digging a big hole in the ground. You know, you can mine to a much lower grade because the costs are much lower. But a nice way to compare, as much as you can compare, open pit and underground, is look at something called grade thickness. And again, for the non-technical people, grade thickness is looking at the width of an intercept and reducing it back to 1 meter wide, just to compare it, everything to 1 meter. So if you had something, for example, that was 20 meters wide and the grade was 250 grams silver equivalent, that's a 20 times 250, so it's a 5 kilo or a 5,000 ppm silver equivalent. So somebody might have, you know, I can think of companies where they have a meter, 1.5 meters at a very, very good grade of 1 kilo, 1.2 kilos. Beautiful mine, beautiful underground mine. And those companies are getting very high values in the billions of market cap, some of them. And then you have our deposit. So we want to try to compare it, give some reference. So this is what grade thickness map. So here, the magenta color is everything more than 4 kilos. Now you're looking at Los Ricos South here, where we drilled along 1.1 kilometers, where we're going to come out with the resource. So grade thickness over 4 kilos in magenta. In the red, it's over 2 kilos to 4 kilos, and the yellow 1 kilo to 2 kilos. So it's a way, it's not the perfect way, that we can compare projects and say, hey, you know, some very successful companies out there with a kilo, 1.2 kilos at 1 meter, 1.5 meters, they'd have a GT of 2.5 kilos. And you can look at this and you can say, well, wait now, if you're 20 meters and your average grade is 230, there's 4+ kilos. So, and you know, Matt, at the end of the day, it all comes down to economics. And I do believe we're going to have some great economics here.
Well, there you go. I mean, you never utter a word. It's always about the economics, and then it becomes always about the share price. So, help me understand a little bit more, if I may. So, thanks for that. It's a nice sort of appreciation of the technical components and the geology and the geography here. But how are you going to be spending your money? You said your G&A is pretty much covered because you've got some production going on, 2 million per quarter, nice contribution. You got 19 million US in the bank. How do you portion your spend? Because you've got to get a PEA done on Los Ricos South and then go through the study process. You've got to allocate a budget for that. Can you give us a sense of what budget you think you're going to need to allocate there? Now the data cutoff point. You've reached that point, and how long is that going to take? And then if you could quick move us up to the north, Los Ricos North, how much time, money, effort do you allocate to that?
Over the last 16 months or over a 12-month budget, and we're big, we have very, very defined budgets. We put a lot of work into a very detailed budget. We've had exploration drilling at about $5 million over the last 12 months, and that was right on budget. We realized with what we're seeing that we're going to increase that budget, and we're in the process of increasing it right now. But I'll give you some rough idea. Los Ricos South. Now we're going to drill with a couple drill rigs there, maybe 2 to 3, and that budget for drilling for exploration would be for a 12-month period, $2 million US to 3. But the other thing we're going to do is that PEA. Now the PEA, we look at some other things. We want to know a lot more about metallurgy. And that's obviously a question at this point with a project where we're seeing these great results and people are saying, what about the metallurgy? Well, we have an advantage here. What you're looking at in front of you there, those 1,100 meters, those were mined, a small portion of it was mined in 1908 to 1929. And we have all those records, 22 years of monthly records for that mill, a cyanide mill, and the recoveries for gold and silver. Even with a mill from operating in 1908 to 1929, the mills now would be a bit better than that. We're in the 90% recoveries for gold and silver. So that's historical information. But in that PEA work, we're drilling holes right now that we're going to use for metallurgical study. And we'll get that going and we'll come out to the market with what we think will be good results for metallurgy, or we're confident from the history here. So we're going to do that in a PEA, and we're going to also do geotechnical drilling because it's going to be an open pit. We want to know how stable the rock is, how steep we can have those pit walls, where we're going to put a pond for tailings, where we build a mill. We're doing a lot of work on social and environmental responsibility. So, and we're doing a lot with the community there. It's paramount in building a mine. That has to be right at the top of your list. So I think on that part of it, probably about $1 million to $1.5 million spend over the next 12 months, getting through the economic, the first PEA, that first study, and that's including the drilling and that geotechnical work. So really, Los Ricos South, we're in the $4 million US over 12 months of work there. And we're defining that budget a little bit more right now to get a little more exact than that. But Los Ricos North. Now, we started drilling there with one drill rig about 3 weeks ago. And we see expanding that to probably about 3 in the next 60 days. And I think in Los Ricos North, I think we're going to, if you're looking 12 months out from now, and it's not a guess, but a little bit of I guess I'd be going out there a little bit, but I think we'd be probably more to the 5 to 8 drill rigs running up there in Los Ricos North. And I think we'd be probably spending more in the $8 to $10 million a year. Now, I'll just throw one other thing in there. As far as, yes, 19 million US in the bank. We also have a big receivable from the Mexican government of $10 million US. And they pay, they always pay. Sometimes it takes them a little while to pay. You know, they do, it's a tax return, and they do a bit of auditing. But we've always received every cent back in taxes that the Mexican government has owed us. So we have 10 million coming there, and we'll probably receive about 4 million of that before the end of the year. Also, on that last financing, at $1.20, the warrants that we have out there are automatically have to be exercised. We've seen some of that money coming in already, and that would give us about another $11 million US. So very, very well financed to carry out a large work program over the next 12 months of in excess of $10 million US.
Okay, so the financing looks like you've got options there. So that's great. Spending $8 to $10 million on Los Ricos North. What is your expectation of what you would need to see there to say this is a success? We've either met my expectations or exceeded my expectations on Los Ricos North.
Well, the first thing, and you're going to see it in the next few weeks, will be the results of Trini. I think everything we've done up there so far, surface sampling, in the vein, very high grade, in the host rock, that's outside of the veins, that's a volcanic rock around the veins, some really high grades. Every indication is that we're going to have a real success there. This is the same thing we've done in the south. Drilling around, what a lot of people say in the business, best place to find ounces is underneath the head frame, the old mine. That's what we're doing there, drilling those 10 to 50 meter wide structures. And success there, I think nothing is guaranteed in this business, but I think we feel extremely confident that we're going to have great success over the next 12 months on that 6 kilometer corridor. But there's a whole other side of Los Ricos North. We know that out through these hills, there's 10s, 20, 30, 40 of these other old mines. And we have half of our team, which are doing almost prospecting, a geologist going out there and doing first pass. And I think we're going to find some really exciting things out there. And we'll take more of a portable drill rig, and we'll do what I call the first piloting holes, the first discovery holes. And I think we're going to discover some great stuff out there around all these old mines. This is more real. Some of this is grid drilling. Some of it is, it's well mapped, pretty good certainty drilling up at Trini where there's already 50 holes. But there's a whole element of that excitement that, talk about size, that can really demonstrate the size of Los Ricos North out in that first pass stuff. And we go out to one of these mines and the team will be there for 2 days. They come back and say, wow, it's 30 meters wide. And we took some samples, look really good. They're in the lab, and they come back in the high grade.
No, it's fascinating. You've got a big land package there, but I think you've, like I made reference to earlier, you've got to help the market understand how you're going about doing what you're doing, what it is that you're looking for, and stay focused. Because it'd be so easy with a very highly prospective land package like that, and all the data that you've got, to get slightly sidetracked. But no, it's exciting times, Brad. Like I say, I do like the story. I'm intrigued. I'm fascinated by what's going to go on up in Los Ricos North, because it seems to me that you could replicate or even exceed what's going on in Los Ricos South, and then maybe start joining up some of the dots. Interesting.
For sure, and we have consolidated pretty much everything we want in, and any consolidations from here on in would be cost would be relatively immaterial. But we still a little bit of consolidation we're doing on some other interesting areas potentially. And I think, staying focused, we're definitely going to stay focused. And the message I don't want to send is that we're so excited about Los Ricos North that, we've lost interest in Los Ricos South. Absolutely not. Los Ricos South is big. It's just that we've organized our team so that we can continue doing what we're doing in Los Ricos South and advance it to economics. And we're just really, Los Ricos North, we're just behind the Los Ricos South project by 12, 14 months. So in Los Ricos North, we've organized our team, divided into two that can do that more, not grassroots, because there were former mines there in the prospecting team's work. And then half of the team that's doing detailed mapping, the work that you do before you drill off resources. And that's what we're going to do. So, we have a big team. We have a very experienced team. We do have a bank account with lots of capital in it. We have lots more capital coming in. No need to finance. We're well financed. And, it's just, we've got a big land package, but to me, the most important thing is big land packages just mean you have to pay a lot of taxes to hold it. The big thing to me is we have a big land package with so much mineralization on it. And really, again, and I feel confident about saying this, and, in my experience, this is the best thing I've seen in 20 years. I believe this is one of the best undeveloped projects in Mexico, for me, from my experience. And time will tell. It may be the best thing in my career. So
time will tell. Time will tell. But before then, you've got a lot of things to deliver. Exciting times for you guys. Big 12 months, I should say, fully financed. It's a question of what you're able to come back to market with.
I have no concern there whatsoever. This project gives us lots of options, and it's so non-finite. When I say finite, I mean or binary. I mean, at Los Ricos South now we're ready to put out what will be close to 1 million ounces at superior grades, which should yield superior economics. In Los Ricos North, we're starting with 50 drill holes that are, they're off the clock. And our work on the surface has demonstrated lots and lots of good high-grade mineralization on surface. So, really, I think that we're doing everything right. The social responsibility, the environment, the community. We have a strong technical team. We have the money to do what we want to do. I can confidently say my team is going to deliver on this, Matt. I believe that, and it's going to be exciting. It's exciting for a guy who's been doing this for 27 years. 58. This is what gets me up in the morning, and it really is exciting.
Brilliant. Brad, appreciate your time. Stay in touch. Sounds like there's a lot of stuff to come through. Look forward to hearing from you. Pick up that phone. We'll be delighted to take that call. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.